You worked hard over the years and saved up and bought a beautiful old aircraft, and now you want to buy insurance coverage so that you can get your money back if there ever was an accident and you had to put in a claim. But then at this very point, you begin to think to yourself these very questions. Well, how much should I insure my aircraft for? What happens if I underinsure my aircraft? Or what happens if I overinsure my aircraft? Well, no worries, you've come to the right place because it's Caleb here from Air 101 and we're going to talk about it. Okay, so here's the main reason why I wanted to make this video. I have to say this right off the bat before you click off this video, especially because, let's be honest, you're watching a video on insurance. When choosing a hull value, please understand that aircraft insurance is done on an agreed value basis. Well, what does that mean? This is the aircraft hull value that you and the insurance company agree upon at the date of binding coverage. And then let's say afterwards you have an accident that results in a total loss. The insurance company in most cases is going to write you a check for that agreed hull value less the deductible. This is why it's so important that you put down the right hull value that you want to end up insuring your aircraft for. I hope this makes sense, but don't worry because by the end of this video you'll really understand what this means. Now before we answer the question on how much you should insure your aircraft for, first we're going to talk about the negatives of either underinsuring or overinsuring your aircraft. And if you stay to the end of this video, I'm going to give you a couple tips that you should think about when you're insuring your aircraft. Number one, underinsuring your aircraft. Here is why you would not want to underinsure your aircraft. Let's say that you have a Cessna 172N that's worth around roughly $100,000. And you decide to yourself, I want to try and save some money on my insurance premium, so I'm just going to insure the Cessna 172N for only $30,000. You say to yourself, some money is better than nothing, and this will chop my premium in half, and I will just fix the aircraft myself after I get paid $30,000. Well, this is very risky because let's say that one day you are taxiing your aircraft and you hit something on the ground and have a prop strike. The insurance company deems that it's going to be more than $30,000 to fix the prop, do the engine overhaul, etc. So what they'll do in most cases is they will cut you a check for $30,000 less the deductible, and then they will take your aircraft and sell it for salvage. This is why you do not want to underinsure your aircraft. Why did you lose out on $70,000? Because the amount that you agreed with the insurance company to insure the aircraft for was only $30,000. So in this case, although they cut you the check for $30,000, means that the aircraft is now their property. Number two, overinsuring your aircraft. Here is why you would not want to overinsure your aircraft. Now let's say you have the same aircraft, a Cessna 172, but this time you try to insure the aircraft for $200,000. You want to do this so that you can make a little extra money in the event of a loss so that you could actually upgrade your aircraft to a nicer aircraft. But let's say your aircraft really is only worth $100,000, but for some reason the aviation insurance company agrees to it. Maybe because they thought you had a new engine in the aircraft or you had really nice avionics, etc. Now you have an accident, you try to put in a claim. At this point, the insurance company realizes that your aircraft is really not worth $200,000. In this case, the insurance company is going to try to do everything possible to fix your aircraft instead of just writing it off, which means you could possibly be out of an entire flying season for the summer or even longer. This is why you do not want to overinsure your aircraft. Now talk about the negatives of underinsuring or overinsuring your aircraft. Then how much should you insure your aircraft for? To be honest, that's a very difficult question. But here are a couple options that could possibly help you find the answer to how much you should insure your aircraft for. A cheap option is to get what's called a desktop appraisal done for your aircraft. Maybe you've heard of this before, maybe you haven't, but there are companies where you can give information about your aircraft and they can put together all the data and find an approximate price of what your aircraft should be worth. A free option is to go on websites like barnstormers.com or controller.com and look at similar aircraft that are just like yours, that have the similar timed engines, similar timed airframes, avionics, etc. Now the most expensive option is to have someone come look at your aircraft. They will look through the journey logs, they will look at the airframe hours, engine hours, the avionics, and they should be able to take all this information and put together a detailed report of what your aircraft really is worth. These are just a couple of ways to find out how much to insure your aircraft for. But let's say you go down any of these routes to find out the value of your aircraft. Will that just give you the end value of what you should insure your aircraft for? Not necessarily. This is why I'm so happy that you stayed to the end of this video, and this is one of the most important things as an aircraft owner owner, you should know. Now let's say once again you bought that Cessna 172 worth $100,000 and one day you're flying, you have an accident, put in a claim, and the insurance company wants to write off the aircraft and cut you a check less the deductible. Now you have to go find another aircraft, but you cannot seem to find one in Canada. So then you decide to import one from the US. Now you have to pay for the difference between the Canadian and the US dollar. You'll have to pay for importing the aircraft, extra taxes, etc. All of these things could put you well above $100,000. That is why in a lot of cases it is good to have done the research and understand what you might need to insure your aircraft hull value for. One thing to remember also, if you get work done on your aircraft throughout the year, remember to tell your aviation broker to get the insurance company to increase your aircraft insurance policy. You don't have to wait till the renewal date to up the hull value of your aircraft. Now remember, if you're flying your aircraft and you want to have hull coverage in the event of an accident, the insurance company in most cases will only pay out a loss if you have purchased all risk flight and ground coverage. What coverage is that? Well, you can watch this video right here to find out. I hope you learned something from this video and choose the right hull value for your aircraft. Stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.